Sometimes in life, we all ask ourselves a familiar question. Why are we here? Where does our soul come from? And where does it go after death? These questions have stayed with me since the beginning of the semester. Taking Professor David's class opened my perspective in ways I didn't expect. It made me wonder, what does the professor want us to understand through his lectures? One of the most memorable moments was when we visited Taram, lay on the grass, and thought about the duck in a bottle question. I asked if we could simply use a mirror to take the duck out, and the professor told me to think in a more literary way. That stayed with me. The duck is already outside. The duck in the bottle represents a mindset trapped by reality. When we break our obsession with trying to solve everything logically, the problem itself disappears. In other words, the problem never truly existed. It lived only in our minds. Human beings, including our ancestors, have always recognized problems, thought about them, and tried to find solutions. Just as David Matsumoto said, culture is a solution to the problem. The environment creates problems. Humans have an innate desire to survive, and this desire leads to specific problems and eventually specific solutions, which become culture. But the solutions we create often create new problems, and the cycle continues. Religion and philosophy try to offer answers to these human struggles. That's why Eastern and Western perspectives differ in goals, time, and ways of thinking. Plato argued that although we think we live in reality, we are actually trapped in illusion. Only by questioning, thinking deeply, and seeking truth can we step into the real light, even if the process is painful. Christianity also tells us to seek truth in an imperfect world. Both perspectives say the same thing. We do not live in perfect truth. We live in an imperfect world, and we must struggle toward the light. The oak tree is the acorns tell us. If every person has a meaning or purpose for being born, then we must live our lives discovering that purpose and enduring the challenges along the way. But how do we find that meaning? If life were a game, there would be a guide or an ending. But each of us is born with a different purpose, a different path, a different pace, and into different environments, cultures, and races. Through these differences, people form communities of similar others. Cultures form. East and West diverge. Values clash or blend through exclusion, discrimination, integration, and assimilation. Korea is not a fully multicultural society yet, but I believe the boundaries between countries will continue to fade. Foreigners will no longer be unfamiliar or difficult to approach. Like the trolley dilemma, most problems in our world have no perfect answer. We might see something as a problem or not. We might be discriminated against or unintentionally discriminate against others. It's impossible to find perfect solutions to everything, but I believe the answer is love. Trying to understand another person's thoughts, empathizing with their pain, speaking with warmth, and accepting people simply for who they are. These are the things we do for the people we love. So let's love. Throughout Professor David's class, I always felt a little nervous. My English isn't perfect, so whenever I was asked something, my face would turn bright red. Anyway, I tried my best not to miss any classes, and because of that, I was able to keep up with the lessons well despite the language barrier. I'm truly grateful that I was able to take this class. Thank you for such a meaningful semester.